Welcome to this tutorial on using StoryOrigin's Beta Copies feature. In this tutorial, we'll be going through how to upload your content for a beta copy, how to invite readers to apply for access to your beta copy, how readers can leave feedback on your chapters and sections of your beta copy, and then how we as authors can sort through and filter feedback from readers. Let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I'm already on the Beta Copies tab of our author dashboard. I will now go ahead and hit Create Beta Copy. For this example, we're going to be using The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is a public domain work, so we don't have to worry about using it as an example. I'll select my author profile and say literary fiction as a tag. When we upload our beta copy content, we can choose to divide it by either chapter, episode, or section. In most cases, I recommend splitting it up by chapter. For some authors that don't want feedback on each individual chapter, but instead want feedback only by chunks of chapters, for example, chapter 1 through 5, chapter 6 through 10, etc., they could instead choose section. But again, let's choose chapter. I will go ahead and copy a little blurb that's already been written up, paste it in here. We can also ask our readers additional questions when they're applying for access to read our beta copy. For example, I will ask, how many books have you read in this genre? We can also set a default reader access expiration date and time. For this example, I'm going to choose October 31st. We'll see how this comes into play a little bit later. For our critique guidance, we can ask and set questions that will appear at the end of every chapter or section of our book. I'm going to go ahead and copy some critique guidance that I've already written here. So at the end of every single chapter of our book, our reader would see this guidance before they would leave their feedback. So this would say some things to potentially include in your critique. Was there anything that confused you? Were there any scenes that were boring? Were there any words or phrases repeated too frequently? That's all we need to go ahead and get started, so I'll hit Create. We're now brought to the section where we can upload our content. Let's come back to this in a second. I'm going to go to my Beta Copies tab of my author dashboard again. I'm going to hit the Share button next to this beta copy. This will give me the link that I can use to share with my readers. I'll hit Copy, open a new tab, paste that link in. And this is what it would look like from a reader's perspective. So they can see the title, tags, and the description. They can then request access. Their contact info will be there. They will also see the questions that you've included. So again, that question was, how many books have you read in this genre? I, as the reader now, will say, I've read 20 books in this genre. And I will also click the tick box, which says, I understand that this is a beta copy, which requires feedback to read through, and hit Request Beta Copy. I can then choose to go to my reviewer dashboard, where I will see my list of beta copies that I've been approved for. Right now, we see that I haven't been approved for any beta copies on my reader dashboard. Let's go back over to the author dashboard. I'm going to refresh the page, and we see that we now have one application for our beta copy. Let's click there. We can see the beta reader's name, the message that they added when they were applying for access, and we can also check their profile. On their profile, we can see how many words they've left as critiques against the number of words that they were critiquing. We can also see the number of upvotes and downvotes that their feedback has received from other authors. This is helpful for determining whether or not we think we might be getting good feedback from this potential beta reader. Let's go ahead and hit accept. Now we come to the reader's access expiration. As previously set, we chose October 31st for the default reader access expiration date. But we could choose this on a per reader basis. So the default will be what we set when creating our beta copy, but we don't have to have it be that way. Let's choose November 1st for this particular beta reader and hit accept. Now we can see the date that the reader applied, what there was in their request message, and we can see their access expiration date. If at any time I want to revoke a reader's access, I can hit this toggle here, hit disable access, and this will show the date and time that their access was ended. We can also re-enable it and hit enable access again. And the access expiration will be not applicable. This is because we haven't set a specific access expiration date when we were re-enabling it. So this reader will have access until we choose to disable it or choose a new access expiration date. Let's go ahead and hit the edit button, and I will leave it as November 1st, which is what we had set previously, and hit save. We can also see how far this reader has gotten through the book. Right now it's not applicable because they haven't left us any feedback. Let's go back over to the Reader tab. I, as the reader, can now see that I've been approved for the beta copy, and I can see when my application was approved and when my access expires. Let's go back to the Author tab. Now, before our readers can actually read, we need to go ahead and upload some content. So I will go to the Content and Comment section. We can also get to this tab if we go to the My Beta Copies tab of our dashboard, and we hit the View link under our Contents and Comments. On this page, there are different ways of uploading our content. We can either add it an individual chapter at a time, we can add questionnaires, or we can bulk upload our chapters. For this example, let's start with bulk uploading our chapters. I will go ahead and copy the text that I've already got ready, paste it in here. Great, now that the content is pasted in, I'm going to go ahead and go through and mark our chapter titles. So for this, we have chapter 1 and we hit our chapter title button. We will then see it appear in this box in the top left-hand corner. I will hit Control F and search through our document for the words chapter, and I will mark each chapter title, and I will speed up through the rest of this process. And that's it. We've marked each one of our chapter titles, so we can scroll to the bottom of the page here and hit the Create button. We'll get a notification when each chapter has been uploaded successfully, and those messages will disappear. Great, now that we've got all of our content added, let's add a questionnaire that comes after chapter 3. I'll call this questionnaire number 1, and just say, what did you think of the first 3 chapters? I'll hit create. When we add new content to a book, it will automatically come as the very last section of that book. So now we need to move this. I'll hit this arrow button here and make this the new section 4. So great, you see that it now comes after the first 3 chapters, and you can also notice that the type is questionnaire instead of content. Now that we've got our content uploaded, let's go back to the reader's perspective. Here we are on the reader's dashboard. We can click on the book title, and that will take us to the table of contents for the book. I can see that I can read chapter 1 here, but all the additional chapters are locked. And we'll get a little pop-up notification that says that to unlock additional chapters, we need to read and leave feedback on the previous chapter. So I'll click on chapter 1. I will read through the chapter, and then I will leave my feedback. The reader rates both the chapter itself, and they also rate how eager they are to read the next chapter, which is incredibly valuable feedback as an author, because we're looking to know when we have slowdowns in our book and we want to improve those chapters. For the feedback, let's say the reader says, "This was great. Loved the characters." And you can see that the button to read the next chapter is currently disabled. But as soon as we hit Save Changes and leave our feedback, they can hit the next button to go to the next chapter. Let's do that now. We now see that we are on chapter 2 of the book. I can go through again. Let's say this time that we only want to rate the chapter as 2-star, and we will say we are not eager to read the next chapter. And let's say the reader's feedback is, "Don't know where this is headed." Hit Save Changes, and again, the next chapter becomes unlocked. I'll hit Next one more time. And let's leave one more piece of feedback. "This was much improved. The characters are really coming together." And I will hit Save Changes, and that again unlocks the next chapter. We can go back to the table of contents by hitting the title in the top left corner. We can see that we've reviewed the latest version of each chapter, and that we've got the next chapter, which in this case is actually a questionnaire, unlocked. We would then have to provide our feedback to that questionnaire in order to unlock the next chapter. One other thing that we can do as a reader is when we go in and we are reading a chapter, we can actually highlight the text, hit the little comment bubble, and leave a comment. We can add more comments, and even more comments. I'll go back to the table of contents, and now let's go look at this from the author's perspective. I will refresh the list of my contents here, and we can see that we have one response on chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, and that we've got 3 comments on chapter 1. Let's look at chapter 1. We can see here the highlights that the reader made, and we can see what the comment is that they left. We can then mark the comments with a different status than unread. So we can mark it as read and considered for items that we don't really want to do anything about, still considering for things that we might want to make a to-do item, to-dos for things that we do want to incorporate into our manuscript, and resolved for the to-do items that we have already completed and incorporated into our manuscript. This first comment I'm going to mark as a to-do, and this second comment I'm going to mark as read and considered. When we're viewing the comments that readers have left in line in our text, we can filter those comments by reader or by status. So let's say that we have 100 beta readers for our book, and we only want to see the feedback for any individual reader. We can go ahead and click their name, and that will add them to this filter box. If we want to see just 2 or 3 readers, we could also add more readers to this filter box. Since we've only got the one reader, we don't have any more to pop up in our little dropdown. We can also filter by the status on the comments. So let's say I want to read all the unread comments and all the ones that I have marked as to do. We can see that those are filtered here, and I can also then change what the status are on those. If we scroll to the very bottom, we can also see the overall feedback that the reader has left. Let's look at another way to look at the overall feedback that readers have left though. I'm here on the contents and comments section, but instead we want to go to the responses section. We can also get to this page from our Beta Copies dashboard. So if I go back to my Beta Copies tab of my author dashboard, and I hit the View link under the Responses column, that will take us to the page we were just viewing previously. I can filter the feedback that I've received from readers by section. So let's say that I want to just see Section 1, Version 1. This is really helpful if we have, again, for example, 100 beta readers and we want to only see the feedback that was left on Section 1, Version 1. We could see the feedback left by all of those readers across just this individual section. We can clear that out. We can also look at feedback by specific readers. So if I just wanted to look at one of our 100 readers' feedback, I could click their name, and I could see that reader's feedback across all of the different sections. I'll clear that out. Now let's say I want to look for any feedback mentioning characters. I'll enter character as our keyword here, and this is the feedback which includes the word character. I can then clear this out. I can also search by status. So let's say that I've got this one as a to-do, and I will mark this one as read and considered. I can again only look for what our to-dos are, and I might also want to add what our unread feedback is. Let's clear this filter again. So you can see how this makes it really easy to sort through and filter feedback across all of our different sections, versions, and readers. One other really helpful thing is just scrolling through our feedback and looking for any ratings or anticipation ratings that are marked in yellow or red. Anticipation ratings and ratings marked in yellow are 2 out of 5, and those marked in red are 1 out of 5. So these are pieces of feedback where we think there's probably something that is high priority in terms of making revisions to our work to make sure that we improve either the chapter itself or leave a better hook at the end of the chapter to make sure that they are really eager to read the next one. So that's viewing the feedback from the readers, and that covers all of the sections of our beta copy. So I hope that you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any additional questions, you can always scroll to the bottom of StoryOrigin, hit the contact link, and reach out to me directly via email. Thanks. I hope you found this helpful.